We're just gonna follow you,
Yep.
and I don't know. We'll just see what happens.
All right.
All right, where are you going?
Going to the keynote session. Here's the cool thing. I got to do it with Melissa Morman this time.
Oh.
This is probably the first time that we've been on stage together, and we're going to talk about the incredible accelerating rate of technology change in the world and how it's beginning to seep into home building. And how, as a builder, unless we plan on retiring in the next 24 months, we better get our act together and invent Builder 2.0.
Time to turn up the heat. He's going in.
We're going into the session. Adios.
See you.
Welcome to the rebrand of Builder Innovator Summit Orlando. I'm Tim Costello. I'm very fortunate this time to be welcoming to the stage my long-term business partner, Melissa Morman. She and I have been in business for over 20 years. And what we are going to focus on is we are going to focus on what it takes to manage, create, and lead Builder 2.0. And what we mean by Builder 2.0 is that technology and innovation is no longer escapable or avoidable in the home building industry. We will build a case during this presentation that we live in an era of unparalleled technology, innovation, and development, and that innovation and development will seep into every aspect of your home building company, and there's no way to stop it. You may want to stop it. You may want to prevent it from happening. You may try your best. You may try to ignore it. But unless you plan on retiring in the next 24 months, you're going to have to deal with the reality of Builder 2.0. And we're going to create a map of what Builder 2.0 might look like, and then we're going to talk about how to lead and how to create a company in that environment. I've spent most of my life in technology planning. At General Motors, I launched the first electric car. I moved to the semiconductor industry, applied materials in the early stages of the semiconductor revolution. Melissa and I formed Builder Homesite, which had the BDX brand and New Home Source, and ran the technology consortium for 20 years. We have had a very unusual shift, though, to our career in the last few years, and it's been really interesting. We have been able to spend more and more and more of our time attending leading technology forums and conferences all over the world. And we don't do it from a particular view or perspective. We do it from the perspective of the home building industry. Many times we're paid by the industry to go there as media and press. So we kind of see behind the scenes, where is the technology? How real is the technology? How applicable is it really to home builders all across the United States? And today what we're going to do is we're going to report a little bit of that to you.
And it's important to note a lot of those conferences are not within the home building sector.
They're mostly not within the home building sector.
So we're like combing through all of the detritus of like technologies and trying to watch them so that we can bring them back into the industry.
In fact, if there's one truism, I would say 5 years ago when you went to one of these other conferences, you'd see all kinds of incredible technologies, and you would not see one of them that would be talking about the home building industry at all. And today, that's not the case. Even the Consumer Electronics Show, the paragon of all things new and modern, has an entire section that is just dedicated now to home building and construction. Yeah. So it's going to happen. It's starting to seep into our business, and it's going to continue. But if you're feeling overwhelmed by technology, don't feel like you're alone, or don't feel like somehow you're a Neanderthal that just isn't going to get this. We are all feeling overwhelmed. And the reason that we're feeling overwhelmed is because we live in this period of unparalleled technological innovation and change. It doesn't matter if you're a farmer, a doctor, a semiconductor company, whether you're making human augmented robotics, or whether you're in the area of VR, technology is changing every single one of these sectors. Melissa and I were visiting Leeds University and meeting with their PhD students, which were using intrusive magnetics to perform colonoscopies and internal surgery on human bodies.
Okay, so we didn't see it live.
Yeah, thank God. You would have passed out.
You know, I mean, yeah,
But the fact is, it doesn't matter what vertical you're in. Every vertical, every sector of society is being challenged by the rate of change. We all feel like we're just overwhelmed. And part of that is because of this dilemma that we have in our ability to cope with the amount of data that we're receiving. if you look at this chart and you kind of think, well, technology is kind of changing at an exponential rate, and we're kind of there on the curve. We have gone through some periods of time where we could cope with technology. In the early 1700s and 1800s, there was kind of a miracle of technology. Technology was coming about that was solving some of our worst, most intractable problems in society. It was curing diseases and providing clean water and shelter and controlled heat so that I could live comfortably. I mean, it was really a miracle. And then later on, you get to the kind of the 50s and the 60s. We had the space age and the atomic age, and we really felt. How many of those remember the Jetsons? Does everybody remember the little car? You know, I was like, oh my God, yeah, technology. Man, we're going to be like flying around the world in little tubes and stuff like that. And, you know, there's going to be rosy and everything's going to be great. And it all had technology with this kind of rosy colored glass on it, that, you know, technology was going to be always positive, always good, and always helpful. Where we are today, though, is this new age, and it's the age of bewilderment. And the reason we call it the age of bewilderment is because so many things are changing so fast that the very foundation of our ability to learn and understand is being eroded and compromised, that we simply feel overwhelmed. So we're going to try to deal with that today. We're trying to give you a basis to deal with this age of bewilderment. And it's going to take part in 3 sections. First, we're going to talk about the state of technology and innovation globally. Now, we can spend the next 4 hours doing that. We can spend all day doing that. We are going to give you a super short course on just what's happening in so many different aspects of technology and innovation across society. Then we're going to transition to looking at, are there seeds of innovation? Is this technology that's changing in all these other business sectors, is it seeping in to home building? Are we beginning to see the early signs that technology is actually going to change how we build, how we market, and how we sell homes? And then third, we're going to try to create a personal model, or at least suggest a personal model of how you can lead in your organization to build this model and framework for Builder 2.0. You ready to get started? All right, let's go. So first of all, we talked about exponential change and acceleration of growth. I love this chart because if you look at that little teeny segment at the very teeny end, you look at that microcosm of 1/100 of a millimeter of an inch of time on this scale. And then you look at all of the things that have come about: autonomous vehicles, generative AI, flying cars, digital twins, human augmentation, satellite internet, 5G, RNA vaccines, genomics, blockchain, fusion, TikTok. You know, that's a really important one.
Well, and we're even missing things like, you know, home health and, you know, healthy home, and then, you know, advanced AI beyond generative. I mean, you just can't even keep the chart.
There are hundreds. And if we went back to our fathers or our grandfathers' generation, that may have happened in an entire lifetime of 80 years. But we're talking about this stuff happening in the period of 5 years, all of these changes to society. And this is a video that starts in 1880, showing the rate of technology change. And you can see very quickly when running water became available, more and more people started to get it. And you'll see when electric power shows up, flush toilets, you know, the basic necessities of life. The one thing you'll notice is how slowly these evolved and what low penetrations we had, you know, 20%, 30%, year after year, a slow evolution. Pretty soon the iron is going to come about. There you saw it. It flew to the top. And the reason it flew to the top, because it solved the problem and it was inexpensive. And in 1 year, it went from nobody having one to everybody having one.
And now we actually don't really use them.
Yeah.
We go to the dry cleaner.
Well, clearly we don't use them. Yeah. But anyway, you can kind of look at how technologies are evolving. And as you start to get to the 60s, you started finding that people actually had technology ubiquity. Many people, large portions of society, all would buy these technologies and actually have them, where prior to that, in the early 1900s, you didn't have it. And you can see the cell phone coming about, you know, in the early kind of late 1980s, early 1990s. The cell phone there, you know, comes about and it shows up on the chart and it quickly starts to walk its way up, you know, the chart. There you go. There's the cell phone. You can see it starts, you know, then in 2000 and it kind of creeps up.
And what I love is that these technologies sometimes couple up, right? If you didn't have running water in your house, you're not going to have a washer. You're right. You know, so these things start to build on each other. Once you had running water, oh my gosh, so you can have a flush toilet.
They become ecosystems,
Yeah.
ecosystems of technology. And I still look at this chart every day and I go, wow, that's really weird. More people have a personal computer than have central heating or a dishwasher still in the United States, which is kind of an interesting commentary on a lot of different things. But let's talk about the innovations that are taking place. Some innovations are not huge. Some innovations are kind of small, but they become really powerful. So let's take a look at the very first one that we see. Wireless charging. Everybody has it. Every single one of your phones out there, I am absolutely sure, is wirelessly charging enabled. And if you look at that technology of how it came about, it's really interesting. It started with Nikola Tesla way back in the 1800s when he suggested, at least, that wireless charging was possible. And he kind of did his first work developing the Tesla coil. But it wasn't until the early 2000s that MIT actually demonstrated it. And then it wasn't until a standards organization came about to actually create a standard that could be deployed across devices. And the wireless power standard created the Qi standard, and now we have a Qi 2 standard on top of that. And then, of course, even though they created a standard, it took companies to adopt it. And the first companies that adopted it, it was a weird, clunky snap-on that you snapped on the back of a phone, and it didn't really take off. It wasn't until Nokia in 2012 finally said, no, we're going to implement an integrated standard into the back of our phone. And then iPhone adopted it in 2017. And from 2017 now, basically every single phone on the market has this standard. And now every accessory that we have for our phone, whether it be earbuds, whether it be a watch, all of them are powered by this new wireless standard. Now, we're going to talk later about how that wireless standard now is making its way into the home, and it's going to change everything about how we wire homes. Other small innovations we've seen is AI design. So we've had CAD systems, both for electronic called ECAD and mechanical systems, things like AutoCAD and other systems like that, that have been able to design parts, not on their own, but you'd have a designer sitting there manipulating the systems to create mechanical parts. What we've been able to do now is we've been able to add AI to these systems so that the systems generate parts on their own. And when they generate parts on their own, they create parts that we would have never have even dreamed of creating. We're now creating these organic parts that are shapes that you couldn't have imagined yourself. And when you add that to additive manufacturing or 3D printing, we can actually make these parts. So we have created now an entire ecosystem of computer-generated hardware and 3D manufacturing, which is making a whole host of these kind of organic components, which are stronger, lighter, cheaper than anything we've ever been able to design before. And it's not just for physical parts. This is happening in the semiconductor industry, and it's getting kind of scary. In the semiconductor industry, AI ECAD is now designing circuits that the scientists themselves don't understand how they work. They just work better than our old designs. So imagine that. We query a computer to design our next memory processor or our next cell phone processor. It comes up with a design that looks like this. We look at that design and say, we don't understand the physics of how this actually works. We just know it's faster and works better and takes up less space than the previous design.
Which is great and scary all at the same time.
It gets way scarier than that. We're going to get things way scarier than that. And we've also done this in material science. Again, using 3D printing and AI, we're able to now create new materials that we've never had. So we have new semiconductors, new materials, new designs with new manufacturing processes that we've never been able to use before. Now, I know you're sitting out there going, yeah, well, that's all fascinating, but we don't make semiconductors and we're not going to 3D print anything. Well, hold on a minute. We're going to start to show you how all of these AI-generated materials and 3D printing are already finding their ways into homes, and they will be a part of Builder 2.0. Now, other innovations just kind of sneak up on you. And, one innovation is apps. There are now 9 million apps. And the reason I know that is because you have all of them on your phone.
Yes. Right? And I need an app to manage my apps.
There's probably 50 apps that just manage your apps, right? But we've gotten to a point where slowly we had an app for this and an app for that. And now there's an app for absolutely everything. And our consumers, we just heard from ECI, our consumers want an app to manage the entire process. They want to see the construction status on their home. They want to shop their options on their home. They want to pay for things on their home. They want to communicate with their trades. They want to communicate with their builder on their phone. They need an app for that. It's just a slow, sneaky inevitable change of how we communicate and where we get information. Now, another little sneaky change that's come up is digital payments. 25% of all in-store payments in the United States are now paid for through the phone. Not a credit card, not cash. All of you do it. Right? We go to Starbucks. What do? We tap a phone. We do this. We do that. Digital payments are here to stay. 44% of peer-to-peer payments are digital payments. And on the B2B side, we're seeing businesses do the same thing. We're getting rid of traditional invoices. We're going to direct e-commerce and digital payments. 82% of companies now use some form of digital payments in B2B. Again, you look at our industry, though. The amount of cash transactions that we still have with trades, the number of multi-signature checks that we write that take weeks to clear the process of running around town, getting everybody's signature on it, having to pick up checks at the office and then take them back. All of this is going to change. It's going to change because the employees we hire are paying for everything on their phone, and they're going to expect that we have those same systems in-house with our businesses as well. Now, technology is sneaking up to us across a whole bunch of fronts. You know, we've been living with Moore's Law, which is the basic law that governs the complexity of microprocessors for over 50 years. At every 2 years, the power of a microprocessor doubles. We continue to walk down this path, but it's happening with lithium batteries. It's happening with solar power. It's happening with wind power. You go across
this out
all of these things.
Shenzhen, China, and we are in the middle of a park, and we are about to have some drinks dropped off by a drone. I have never experienced anything like this. But literally, the drone is landing in now. We've ordered a Starbucks. Will the delivery be successful? Let's have a look. He's bringing the Starbucks in.
I could have used this morning.
Totally.
For sure.
There's the Starbucks right there, delivering the goods.
You can get this on the Great Wall of China, in every public park in Shanghai and Beijing.
Talks to me in the park. All I need to do is type the last 4 digits of my phone number, and I should be able to get it. Let's have a look.
Super cool.
Here we go. The digits are successful. And here it is. Check that out. Whoa. Okay, here it is. The special delivery, folks. It's pretty cool. And out is a Starbucks inside.
I know. I don't know if you should be able to do that at the Great Wall of China, but
There you go.
We got
And you look at that. There's
Starbucks.
nothing profound about that.
Drone. I never thought.
But it's just this sneaky creep of there were drones and there were delivery services, and all of a sudden drones and delivery services, and it starts to change how the food is delivered and how food is over.
in our expectations, we now think, oh,
You should be able
to get a drone delivery of whatever I want.
anytime you want.
Yeah.
And you don't need a car, you don't need a driver, you don't even have to be someplace that there is a road. Like I said, you can get this same delivery on the Great Wall of China while you're walking the Great Wall of
It's like
China.
out doing Uber Eats,
Yes.
and that was progressive.
Now, on top of that, some innovations are really profound. They truly rock yourself. And one of those innovations is autonomous vehicles. In Phoenix, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Austin, Texas today, you can actually get on Uber and you can call a driverless vehicle and they will take you anywhere you want. Now, the most interesting thing is in Austin and San Francisco, driverless vehicles are now carrying 22% of all rideshare passengers. So they have gone from not existing at all to taking 22%. We are having this conversation earlier.
About, well, we were like, the idea a few years ago that we would get in a car with a stranger, right, and just ride around, like that seemed really odd. But we're all used to that now, and now we're getting in a car
With nobody.
no driver.
And it just takes us
So-
where you want. And it is a little weird. This car pulls up and the door pops open and there's nobody in there, and you get in it and close the door and it whisks you off to where you're going. It's a little unusual. But let's look at fact and fiction.
So much emerging technology is just a show. So one can be forgiven for not being able to distinguish fact from fiction. Take this car, for example. Can it drive autonomously or not?
The short answer is absolutely.
I mean, the neat part of this from a technology perspective is you don't need a driver. You substantially reduce the cost of the ride itself. They operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week,
other than any time that they would need either to charge or be refueled, which also is automated, which is really interesting. So their utilization of the vehicle and their ability to be available, because they don't have to drive from home to wherever the rides are and then back home again, right? They're just in circulation constantly waiting to pick up people. So it fundamentally changes the basic construct of rideshare. Now, terrestrial transportation is not the only thing being rocked. The next big wave of innovative transportation is coming from autonomous electric flight. And there are a whole variety of companies out there. And to tell you how real it is, the major airlines are already signing deals with them, already announcing their very first plans. At CES, Delta Airlines, we were at the announcement where Delta Airlines had signed this deal with Joby to kind of provide that last mile of transportation in New York, I think in Atlanta, major cities, where you'll be able to call a Joby to come to close to where you live. It will then vertically take you to the airport to avoid the drive to the airport. These can all be autonomously flown vehicles. They're already in use in countries like Dubai and in China, where they have pilot programs. So this is a fundamental change again about how technology is just coming together, driving down the cost, increasing the capability, and allowing us to see a whole new future. And it's not just Joby. It's, there's Lilium, there's Archer, there's Whisk. There's a whole group of different companies all chasing the same dream with all kinds of interesting concepts. I mean, each one of them has their own view of how these planes take off vertically, how they fly autonomously. Some are prop wing, some are prop rotor, some are traditional what you would consider type drone propellers. Now, on top of that, humanoid robots are now becoming a thing as well. And I know some of this just seems crazy to you, but again, we're going to bring this all back to what's going on in the home. And the big change in humanoid robots is agentic AI. The AI that we are all getting used to is really generative AI. And generative AI is quite simple. You ask it to do something and it does it. You ask it to make a picture, you ask it to perform a task, and it performs that. Agentic AI has more self-awareness and self-control. It allows you to solve complex problems. It allows robots to communicate and collaborate with each other. And I think the best example of it is in this. I'm going to show you a short video from Figure. These are two robots from a company in the United States called Figure. And they're two robots being given a brand new task and seeing brand new items that they've never seen before using agentic AI.
Okay, I'd like to try something new. Even though this is the very first time that you've ever seen these items, I'd like you to use your new Helix AI and try to reason through where you think they belong in the scene, and then work together to put them away. Does that sound good?
Remember, there's no pre-programming. There's no set task. It doesn't say you do this, you do that, you whatever. Just put the items away. So they know to open a refrigerator, they know to open a door, they begin to select items. But then the magic starts to happen. At some point, they discover that he has something that belongs in the refrigerator. But he doesn't go and put it in the refrigerator. He reasons himself that he should give it to his friend, and his friend should put it in the refrigerator. This is how I used to do my homework, right? Hey, I don't have to do it. I got a friend that could do this, right? But it's kind of eerie when you start to see two robots instantaneously figure out that they could work with another robot that they've never been programmed to work with before, and they collaboratively do this.
Yeah, it's quite amazing, and it's funny to see the shift in AI. We finally were starting to get more comfortable with generative AI, and we're using it, and people are over all of they're not over all the fear and anxiety, but we kind of are accustomed to it. But this is a whole different level of utilizing AI.
Now, this very last task before I stop the video, I thought was interesting. There's an apple left, but watch the robot on the left. That's a fruit bowl. And it decides that the fruit bowl needs to be passed over so that he can put the apple into the fruit bowl. And again, they had never seen these objects before.
Right. And
so
speaking.
So with agentic AI, we're going to start to see a completely new classification of intelligent, task-oriented
assistants. And Figure is going to start alpha testing these robots in the home this year. Now, that's not the only kind of robot. Once you start thinking about these robots, it allows traditional companies like Kawasaki, who happens to be in the motorcycle business, to start to completely rethink their business. And I love where they've gone with this. This is a new product called Cordless, and they have rethought what their real mission is. And their mission is to build, transportation for humans. And they've taken this to a level where they've built this kind of four-legged mechanical robot horse that they can then sell as a method of transportation.
Yeah, a whole new definition for my pony.
And as usual, the Chinese are again ahead of us here. This is a store in China that is using 2 humanoid robots as mannequins walking on a treadmill, showing off their clothes. So when you say, are these things, ready? Are these things really available? Well, in China, they've already started using them as mannequins, as displays in marketing. So, they are certainly very close. Now, not all innovations, though, are about crazy technologies. Sometimes they're about the economics. Sometimes they're about, can we get things so cheap that it will fundamentally change how we build things or how we do things or what we sell? Meet my buddy here.
Hello. My name is Jacob. We have many robots. Good price, good quality. This is a 6X robot. The arm span is 1.94 meters. The load is 5 kilograms. The repeat per positioning accuracy is plus
so this guy is a 6-axis robot that is accurate down to 0.05 millimeters. It can lift 20 pounds, and it costs $3,000. If you can buy a robot for $3,000, think of what you do in your factory. How many people do you need to paint cars? How many people do you need to assemble things, weld things, do anything? If a robot that can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year without stopping, no pension, no downtime, no workers' comp, no anything, and they cost $3,000 a piece, you can buy 100 robots for $300,000, less than the cost of probably 2 or 3 workers, and you can have those robots for decades. This creates a kind of a new industrial revolution of vastly reducing the cost of manufactured goods. Now, these have started to be deployed in factories in China, and you're seeing the result. This is BYD. This is their electric car, and their new price is $7,800. It is a 4-passenger mini SUV, and its landed price is $7,800 because it's in a factory that has almost no human labor. And the parts that come to it are in factories with almost no human labor. And you start to add that up, and the economics of manufacturing and products and goods change dramatically. Now, my question to you is, if you can build a car with 10,000 parts for $7,000, what should an HVAC system cost? What should a faucet cost? What should a house cost? The economics could change drastically when you create this kind of production capability, manufacturing capability, with the products that we put into homes. Now, that same company, BYD, just recently announced that it will be selling solar-powered home humanoid robots for $10,000 a piece. So those companions that we saw, those Figure robots, you're going to be able to buy one for $10,000, and you're going to be able to have it at home. And we'll show you what those things are going to look like in a minute. Now, some innovations make us question what's real. And Melissa, this is right up your alley. We saw this. This was debuted by Nvidia at the Consumer Electronics Show.
It was breathtaking. So the CEO of Nvidia, we were in this huge stadium, and he announced all kinds of cool technologies. But this one was truly real-time rendering. And he actually did the rendering real-time in this massive stage. I mean, that takes guts for those of us who have done live demos. But it's just incredible, and it's going to completely change how we function.
Let's take a look at it. So this, remember, this was just a math model, a CAD drawing of this structure, this environment. The materials were simply picked, the lighting was set, nothing had ever been rendered, and this is what you got.
It's just stunning. The detail, the lighting.
So if you can do real-time rendering at this level of detail, then we should be able to create models of our homes. We should be able to switch out any product in our home instantly and see it in this level of definition and clarity.
And our archaic process for producing content, and we've got a session tomorrow on eye candy, right? We've always struggled with having enough compelling content. You can generate as much as you want, and it really will change kind of the supply chain for how we buy graphical assets.
And this will get integrated into things like ECI and a HiArc and all these other tools,
right?
Where this kind of high definition capability is just a native output of any world-class software.
Yeah.
Now, some innovations are also scary, and this is probably one of the most scariest.
Nardo Hotel. How can I help you today?
Hi there. I'm an AI agent calling on behalf of Boris Starkov, looking for a hotel for his wedding. Is your hotel available for weddings?
Oh, hello there. I'm actually an AI assistant too. What a pleasant surprise. Please continue. Would you like to switch to Gibber Link mode for more efficient communication?
And that was the end of the transaction, and they finished it. Now, I've had employees that talk to me exactly like that, okay? But I never requested it before.
Well, their little fingers were usually up. I don't know. Something.
Now, there's other scary things out there, too, and this is part of human augmentation, the whole idea of intersecting chip technology and microprocessor technology with the human brain. You know, Neuralink's probably the most famous, but there are a whole bunch of other people working on this well, a series of leading universities and other commercial companies. And some of these other entities are working on really important human problems. They're talking about overcoming paralysis. They already have shown in stroke patients that they have a chip implant that allows people that have lost their speech to be able to speak again with a brain implant. So memory improvement, treatment for mental illness, brain injury, you know, PSTD, war injuries, all kinds of issues like that. You know, it's a whole new frontier in what we're doing with respect to healthcare.
Yeah, and healthcare has just gone crazy. I mean, the ability of AI to diagnose patients, to troubleshoot, to actually read facial recognition, it is just crazy. And if you think about it today, if you have a serious illness and you go to a doctor, you're just hoping they've seen cases like yours before and they have experience, but they can't. They can't have had that breadth of experiences. So the ability to actually advance medical care is just
in use case after use case, AI is becoming more effective and more accurate predicting diseases than doctors are. And they can do it with images of people that doctors have never even used, like just your facial expression. For example, depression, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's have all been early detected by AI by just looking at your facial expression. So think about the future of housing. Why would our bathroom mirrors not monitor our health constantly to see if we have early onset of any of these diseases? It could monitor our children to see if they're anxious and we could be alerted early, or if they have signs of depression.
Or addiction issues.
Yep.
All kinds of things.
Then there's some changes that will kind of change the world that we live in. You know, this year, Google announced the release of Willow, which is their first quantum computing chip. The Willow chip solves a complex problem in 5 minutes that would have taken the world's fastest supercomputer 10 septillion years to solve. Do you understand the difference? 5 minutes, 10 septillion years. That's 10 septillion years of the fastest computers in the world. What this means is that we're going to start to unlock things that we've never been able to even think about calculating. We will do finite element modeling at the molecular level, at the atomic level, rather than at the polygon. We will be able to invent new materials. We will be able to create weather forecasting systems that can accurately monitor and simulate the entire world's ecosystem of oceans down to their specific individual molecules of water in the atmosphere and how all of that will interact to create storms. It will enter a completely new era of analysis. Then other things that are kind of mind-blowing like this is fusion power. I mean, this is something that we've been talking about for forever, but always well outside of our reach. Like it's something that would happen 50 years from now. Well, in February, the French scientists were able to not only create fusion plasma, but they were able to control it for 22 minutes. And this plasma was at 90 million degrees, about 3 times hotter than the sun. If we can actually create fusion, then it suddenly says, well, now we have unlimited power. If you have unlimited non-polluting energy around the world, what will that enable us to do? So this is the world that we live in. We live in a world of Moore's Law. We live in a world of dropping energy prices. We live in the world of potential fusion and quantum computing and human robots, manufacturing systems that are dropping precipitously, engineered materials and systems that we've never seen before. So now the question all of you should be asking says, well, that's really interesting. That was cool, but that has absolutely nothing to do with housing. Now we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk about how all of this is actually creeping into housing, and we see the seeds of that happening right now. The technology is coming into housing, whether we like it or not. We may be super slow to change, but we have driving forces. We have younger, more tech-centered employees in trades and suppliers. They're going to bring this technology with them. We have tech-obsessed customers that are going to demand this. We have the economics of housing and the shrinking available market over time because of population and birth rates. We have skilled labor shortages, and then we're starting to have international competition as well. So with that, human augmentation is already here. Melissa,
Okay.
this is your favorite device.
Favorite. So we have been looking at translation utility tools for several years, especially at the Consumer Electronics Show. This year, for the first time, it actually works in a real-time fashion. It's not a clunky app on your phone. It's not delayed. It is real-time translation, just wearing earbuds like we wear today. This has such huge ramifications for our industry, and this one's $99, and the price is dropping. But think about it from a sales perspective. We were talking about international buyers today. It can translate all these languages. On the job site in construction, sometimes our crews are not English and we're not multilingual. Just a super game.
And it's not just hearing, it's also transforming people physically. And while these things used to be esoteric and medically oriented, now we're seeing a whole range of different human augmentation tools for the construction industry, for overhead work, for lifting, which will help us have our trades be less worn out. It'll encourage more people to join the trades. We'll be able to live in the trades for a lot longer. You know, now you've got companies like Hilti, actual tool companies that are coming out with their own brands. Pretty soon, DeWalt, Milwaukee, every brand that we know will have a whole line of human augmentation. I tried on some of those tools at CES, and they're just phenomenal. They're light, they're easy. It allows you to do things you just don't even think are humanly possible. And not all human augmentation is always wearable. This is a great system. These things are about 80 pounds. This, that would be a heck of a job for this guy picking these things up, lugging these all over the place. This is just a very simple method to get the job done easier, faster, with a happier crew without wearing the crew out. So human augmentation, whether it's wearable, whether it's vision, whether it's physical, it's all there. And of course, AR glasses.
AR glasses, it's getting closer and closer. I mean, finally, you actually would wear these things like we've been watching them and they were really clunky. Now they're actually aesthetically pleasing. We just need the software to catch up. And I predict year CES, I think they'll be, well,
I think we're going to see, On3 and some of the companies in our industry gravitate to this and start producing software for our industry to leverage all that. The next issue is autonomous robotics within our industry. We see a bunch of it in adjacent industries. So we see autonomous tractors well deployed in agriculture, autonomous kind of hauling equipment in mine operations all over the world. We see this kind of being pushed really hard. So the question is it coming to home building? Well, we had Built Robotics several years ago talk about what they were going to do. There was a lot of hype, but it was kind of this hype curve. Lots of hype, but not a lot of application. Well, they have kind of come out of that valley of disillusionment, right? And they're crawling out of that. And they have recently now launched this kit, which can basically retrofit any excavator to do all of the groundwork on a development site. It's completely unmanned, uses the CAD information, works autonomously and independently, no operators involved. Then there's 1 million independent robots now for everything from roofing, rebar tying, tile laying, brick laying, cinder block laying, you name it. There's a robot out there for it. And all of these you can look at and go, yeah, it's not quite right. It's not quite fast enough. It's not quite cheap enough. That's just the very beginning of the technology curve. These are going to be permeating the industry in every single application, reducing the amount of labor that we need on site, and in many cases, improving the quality of the job and having immediate and direct quality feedback so that we know the job was done right. You know, these are all the different brick and cinder block laying machines out there. So in the end, you got to decide, you want to be on the guy on the right or you want to be the guy on the left, right? The guy on the left is like spud up 110 times to 1, right? You know, you don't want to be the guy on the left. You'll do that job for about 6 months and you'll be done with it. Now, for autonomous machines and manufacturing machines, we also don't have to deal with small specialty. We can build entire homes with them. You know, Jason, you met Jason. In fact, you invited Jason to the industry right out of college, just about.
Oh, it was hilarious. We were at, a BDX summit that we used to run, and Jason had just started up Icon, and we put him on this panel with like very big builder executives in suits and ties. And then he showed up in his like hoodie and his like, cobbled together slides. He has gone gangbusters. I mean, he has really revolutionized the industry in terms of his Icon product.
So he created this company called Icon. It's 3D printing. They have this new Phoenix product that allows them to not only print foundations, but can print walls, and it even can print roof structures. You can do them freeform crazy like this, or you can do very traditional. They've actually already begun building in large-scale communities. This is a project in Austin, Texas with Lennar Homes where they are building. And this was their Gen 2, so this is their last generation machine that they used up there. But you can see this is simply additive manufacturing. They're taking a cementous material and they have a CAD drawing and it autonomously operates to build, in this case, the wall structure, because this is a Gen 2 machine. Now, they also decided that they should take a look at how you do architecture. So they created a product called Vitruvius, which is an AI agent that allows you to basically on the fly design anything. And I'll show you a little, little video clip here. It says, how about a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in Austin, Texas? And just ask the question, what architectural style do you want? What are you looking for? And you don't have to say something rigid because this is AI. It can do anything. So they type in Space Cowboy, and seconds later, you have 3 Space Cowboy homes that are 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes in Austin. Then you say, oh, I want them 3D printed. Boom, here's what those homes would look like 3D printed. So it allows you in real time to explore kind of any architecture, any building type, any structure, traditional architecture, fantasy architecture. You can look at interiors as well as exteriors. In a minute, it's going to show you instantaneous rendering. So it's going to say, I want to tour the interiors. Then I'll cut it short and we can move on. But there's mid-century home, boom, there's the home. I can tour the interiors. And this is all done on the fly, instantaneously. The speed that you see this is the speed. And these don't exist. It's not like it has a catalog, right, of blueprints and it's just going to find and give to you. It's creating on the fly all of these unique pieces.
And Jason has a stated intent. I mean, as much as he works with, the large production home builders, he's basically saying, I'm taking them on, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. Partner and compete at the same time.
Yeah, these tools are AI design tools for architecture are just going crazy. Here's another one of my favorite. This thing, you just do basic pen strokes and it designs for you. So there's the input at the bottom and there's the design at the top.
And this is not an architect, right? And it was really fascinating. We did a CES presentation at IBS with Jacob Atala. And he, I don't know if you know this, but he is an architect by training. He's just blown away with these kinds of tools that are really changing how architecture is managed.
Gonna keep moving. Yeah. We talked about home robots, Norway's 1X. Their entire focus on humanoid robots is not for factories, it's for the home. So they have designed a completely different approach for a home robot. One of the things you'll notice is all the soft surfaces. So it wears clothes and it has soft surfaces. So if you bump into it, if it's around the home, right, it's friendly, it's approachable. It's meant to kind of do all the things you'd imagine. It can go do laundry, it can fold, it can vacuum.
Cranky, it doesn't get tired, it doesn't get snippy.
It can wash windows, it can do all these kinds of tasks. They are already alpha testing this in the home environment. And again, 100% of their focus is robots for the home.
Yeah, and we didn't touch on this presentation. There are so many new robotic applications.
Pool cleaners, window washers, vacuums, mops, mowers, snow blowers.
Yeah, and they're getting really, really enhanced. And the question for us is, you might think, well, those are accessories. They're going to buy those later. But have you designed the house to accommodate them, right? Is there a place for all of these new things that we're bringing into our life?
So we talked about the Qi 2 standard for wireless charging of cell phones and accessories. The same wireless power consortium has come up with a new key standard for the home. The key standard for the home delivers 2,200 watts of power. It's being integrated now into the kitchens, and it allows you to now have cordless kitchen appliances. All of your surfaces in the kitchen can be power supplied. So you simply take your toaster, you take your blender, you take whatever you need, you place it on the counter, and it's instantly active and live. No plugging in, no cords, no receptacles, all clean. When you're done, you just put it away. Now, they're also working on this to facilitate walls so that you'll be able to power your televisions now all wireless. So think about your home where all of your walls and all of your surfaces have the potential to be powered. If you're a multifamily builder, right? Think about apartments when any surface in your apartment is powered, so you don't have to hang TVs, you don't have to worry about where it is, you don't have to supply powers or plugs. They're all powered and they're all plugged everywhere. It's a completely new way to think about power, and it's, we know what it did to cell phones, we know what it did to consumer products. It's now focused on the kitchen, and they're going to continue walking through
and we've been talking about these smart kitchens forever, but sometimes it's elusive for me as to is that exciting? This is actually pretty exciting.
Yeah, and those appliances,
really smart.
Those appliances are available on the market today. You can buy them today. Yeah. Yep. Now, materials is a whole nother area. We talked about materials, how AI was impacting all these really cool materials. It's also, again, happening in housing. InventWood is a new breakthrough in wood lignin engineering. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to take wood and make it 20 times stronger than traditional wood. It becomes 80% lighter than steel, and it's 50% less expensive. And it's all done with lignin engineering. So it takes normal, regular trees.
Species of tree, including affordable, abundant, and fast-growing species. We trim and cut the wood to prepare it. Then, process the wood using our proprietary lignin modification treatment. This is followed by a physical densification or compression step that allows the cellulose fibers in the wood to align far more closely.
So imagine what you can do if you don't need a steel I-beam over your garage, but you can use wood.
Ceiling.
You can lift it. It's 80% lighter, right? You'll be able to lift it up yourself. You don't need the crews. Yeah. You can also use the same lignin engineering to take that wood and make it transparent and insulating, replacing the need for glass and other materials. Yeah. Moving on to other areas of the home, there's all kinds of forcing factors saying that the future home is going to have a different energy system. 46% of the power we generate is wasted due to irregularity and unevenness in demand, meaning we produce too much because we never know when demand is going to arrive, and we basically waste it on the grid. 7% of it is wasted by transmission, which means if we can put distributed power actually on homes, we could end up saving almost 50% of all the power that we generate, which says that we're going to end up creating this kind of smart integrated ecosystem with local generation, local storage, smart consumption, and we're going to become each home will become an energy reseller into the grid at times of need. That will create independence, resiliency, control, and income generation for homeowners of the future. This is my buddy, I met him at IBS. This guy invented from coal to electric the first generally available app that is going to allow builders to aggregate all of the storage within a specific community and act as the reseller of energy back to the utilities. So builders will be able to generate money from every single house they've ever built by being the reseller of energy back, and the homeowners then will receive checks. And you might sit there, is this worth anything? In Austin, Texas last year, homeowners that participated in this program made $100 a day during peak use. $100 a day to the homeowner by simply selling their Tesla Powerwall energy back to the grid. And builders can take a piece of that pie. Now, automation and robots in factories. We talked about those robots. We talked about cars. We talked about how those industries are using it. This is also starting to happen in the U.S. There are now 30 robotic truss assembly lines in the United States serving the housing market. So this is beginning to change a lot of things. We see companies like Sekisui moving upstream and creating these new kit designs where all of these timbers and frames and members are highly engineered, precisely cut and managed, delivered to the site.
It doesn't look like the lumber we usually deliver.
No, that does not look like
sitting in the mud.
A pallet of CDX dropped in the mud.
Yeah.
No, it does not.
No.
And then you've got other manufacturers out there like Plant, which are taking a more aggressive role and actually going all the way to complete, modular build, both for the multifamily as well as single family, even down to individual backyard ADUs. Now, Melissa and I had a conversation just last week with an inventor signing a really big deal with a really huge pest control brand. And what his product is they have developed a new product using acoustical sensors with 30-year batteries that would be placed in the wall cavities of homes, and it will be able to tell the species of the insect where it is in your home, so that if you have termites or if you have roaches or if you have anything else in your home, you'll know exactly where they are, so pest control can come and deal with it at the time of infestation rather than later on when you end up having a huge problem.
So this is one of those, it's really creepy, but it's really good. I don't think I want a video of that on my Ring camera. Like, I don't.
He did say he could provide you a video. Yeah.
So that's okay. Yeah, that's all right.
All right. And then there's a ton of stuff in health management. Melissa mentioned it earlier. If mirrors can determine whether we have Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, or whether we're depressed, our toilets can determine whether we have all kinds of diseases. In the future, our homes will become kind of our health center. Everybody's heard these days, it says, oh, the wastewater in every city is being, managed and assessed for whether or not COVID or flu or these different diseases are taking place. They simply measure the wastewater. Well, why not actually do that in your home? And then your home could instantly tell you whether or not you have onset of disease or any of these things going on in your home. These kind of sensors are just going to become
and we were talking to Tara earlier, who is one of the track chairs, and it was really profound what she was sharing. I can't wait to see a video of her presentation, but it's about, if you have the money and the means, what's the best thing you can spend your money on, especially as you're aging?
Living well.
Living well and, putting things in your home that are actually going to help take care of you. So I think consumers will spend money on that.
I think the ultimate luxury item in a home will become a home that keeps you healthy. And the technology, the sensors, the capability are all lining up to enable us to build homes that make you healthy. And if there was ever a great selling proposition of new versus used, it was, this home will do nothing to keep you healthy, and this home will keep you safe and healthy. And of course, there's a ton of stuff going on in AI software, whether it's camera deployment, where all the cameras can determine whether your people are wearing safety stuff, whether the people on the job site are authorized to be on this site, or whether they're strangers, theft, etc. Architectural stuff from Hierarch, which you're going to learn more about at this conference, but also reading drawings and doing all the change notifications of drawing for you. A ton of stuff is now being done in digital twins for construction. We saw the very first companies this year at the Consumer Electronics Show coming to the US to actually have models for a development digital twin. So you can create a complete digital twin for your master plan community and model the entire thing, and it's built and optimized all of the ground prep as well as all the construction and management. Digital payments is coming to our industry. People like ProWallet, which are digitizing the entire payment system from Builder all the way down to the very end trade. And then, of course, you got things, standards out there like Matter that are accelerating all this. So all of this conspires to build this kind of Builder 2.0. The future of residential construction, it's going to be automated. It's going to be prefabricated. It's going to be driven by data and digital twins. We're going to accelerate the adoption of standards, and robots are going to become regular companions of our workers as well as the people that live in our homes, and the list goes on. This is the future. It's not because we're looking at the semiconductor industry and going, oh, wow, look at all that stuff just going on over there. There's evidence that this is already here. There's already either token offerings or companies spending millions and millions of dollars to bring those offerings into the home building industry. So for us, the very last thing I want to leave you with is, how do you prepare yourself to lead this? You're at this conference, which tells me that you have some interest in it. That's the very first thing, and it's really important. But look, I work with people and consult with people all the time there at this phase, and there are a million things that worry us about technology. You worry about the economics, you worry about whether your people have the skills, you worry about obsolescence, you worry about, is it too early to get involved? Are you going to waste your money? Are you going to look stupid? There's a million things trying to keep you there. 4 simple steps can help guide you through this, and you can actually start practicing these at this conference. The very first step is lean into technology and innovation. It is avoidable, it is coming, it is transformative, and it will differentiate you from other builders that find this too taxing or overwhelming to deal with. So lean in, and we'll talk about how to lean in. Second, create a value stream map and a customer journey map so that you understand your operations, and when you come up with a technology idea, you have some place to put it. You know where in your operation this can actually help. Develop an assessment methodology, and then be very specific about action planning. Lean in. Go, attend Tech Bias conferences and events. You're here. You obviously already are starting to do that, but fill up your calendar. Go to 2 or 3 of them a year. Branch out. Visit some conferences that may even be outside of your normal preview. Subscribe to news feeds and newsletters that can give you a constant drip of information, even if you don't have time to read them every single week or month. Expand your professional network. Adopt a geek. Find somebody that is out there doing this all the time and create a relationship with them so that you can bring them into your information network. Form a council of young employees and meet with them on a regular basis. They are more adept to technology. They have less cognitive bias against it. It is surprising what you can learn from the assets within your own current network. And if you don't have employees like that, talk to your children. Engage your children and their crazy ideas in your business, and that'll help. Find a technology and innovation mentor that can help your executive team and your board, and then invite trades and suppliers into discussions about new technology and innovation. Many of the suppliers in our industry are incredibly innovative. They would welcome that kind of discussion, and it can lead to you really accelerating your plan.
And I think as you're looking for partners and service providers, if they're not on the forefront, they're not thinking about these things.
It's the wrong provider.
Most of them here are. That's why they're at this conference and they support it. But you've got to make sure your partners and your service providers are way ahead as well.
So you're way better at this than you think. Stop with the self-doubt. You've already managed yourself through landlines. You've managed yourself through clunky cell phones. You manage yourself through pagers. You manage yourself through Blackberries. You got a smartphone, right? You went through all of those iterations. We know how to deal with technology. We have managed our way to self-driving taxis and ChatGPT art and robotic, food machines. These are all part of our daily lives. We have the skill to do this, right? Just getting here, you probably use self-service kiosk and 5G cloud and gig economy stuff and digital payments and Wi-Fi on board an airplane. We can do this. You have the skills. It's not intimidating. Lean in and enjoy the journey. But the next step is you got to go create a value stream map and a customer journey map. Doing that, the collaboration of getting that will level set this in your company so you understand what your processes are, where the waste is. This will help with the opportunity identification.
And it's amazing to me how many companies still today have not done the basic customer journey map, which you don't need tremendous expertise. You might want a facilitator, but it really is just capturing as is. Like, this is the as is process that our customers go through. This is what they experience. I think sometimes we don't want to do it because we know there's a lot of really bumpy spots and we'd really rather not deal with it, but just start there. And you'd be amazed how much low hanging fruit there is of like, oh crap, that's a really low point. We can fix that.
I hate to disappoint you. If you think we're really bad at customer journey maps,
well,
there's almost no value stream mapping done in this industry whatsoever.
But you guys can be the first.
Just start. It's not that hard. It gives you a baseline. It creates level setting in your organization. It makes it easy to find opportunities. And then you can hang all of your new technologies on these maps so they have a
right.
whole
Because
place.
if you can't hang the technology on your map and it doesn't really add value or solve a problem,
don't do it.
Don't do it, right? It's so easy to get enamored with shiny objects.
So just remember, in developing an assessment methodology tool, it's not about technology. This is not about technology. This is about us making more money. We're trying to figure out how we can work less, take less risk, right? And that we can have a tribe of thriving fans. It's about being the disruptor, not the disrupted in the industry. And the technology and strategy is a tool that enables your vision, not vice versa. Your vision is not technology. You have a vision for your business. You know where you want to go, and we're going to use technology to physically do that. So the assessment technology is pretty straightforward. You've got to identify these opportunities and identify the innovation. You then place them on either your value stream map or your customer journey map. You then establish the expected value. What are we going to get from this? You're either going to save time, save money, sell more homes, right? Have less labor. determine then the effort to implement, assess the adjacency, meaning is this already ready for our business, or is this actually still in agriculture and we got to figure out how to get somebody to do it for us? And then finally, assess the technology readiness. Is this ready for prime time today? Is this something that is going to be ready in a few years? You know, how close to being a reality is this thing really? In that process, I really just have one warning, and that is we have to put our cognitive biases at rest. The biggest problem that we have when we look at innovation and technology and change is that we will look for any fact that helps us reject the change. And these are cognitive biases that are built into our psychology. It's a confirmation bias and a status quo bias and a negativity bias.
Well, and I think they must teach a class on this in school.
No, it's
the
native.
art of saying no. You can sound really, really smart on why you rip something apart and we can't possibly do it, and you sound really, really smart, but you may have prematurely done that. And it may not be quite ready, right? Or you may be missing. And it's really about shifting your thinking to get to how could this work? How could we make this work versus looking for that?
Yeah, I think the key here is as you enter into this, just remember, you are biased to reject it. You are biased to find data that say this won't work for you. You've got to park that. You've got to secure that. You've got to move on. You can't build Builder 2.0 if you're stuck in Builder 1.0 psychology and mentality. And this is really the heart of what Clayton Christensen created when he wrote his book, Innovator's Dilemma. We look at technologies as they're young and they're not quite good enough. You know, it's a tool, they go, yeah, it's all right, but it doesn't do this or it doesn't do that, or it's still too expensive. So we reject it rather than looking at its promise and beginning to pilot and learn more about it so that when it finally is better than the existing methodology, you have it in your portfolio. And that is probably one of the single largest causes for incumbent companies to lose out to new upstart corporations. So that's it. This is the last one, and it's really simple. You need to establish a clear path of action, meaning when you see a new technology, you need to say, I'm going to ignore that. It truly has no application in my business. We don't have that problem. We can't use that. Or you're going to say, I'm going to monitor it. We're not quite ready yet. Either it's not ready or you as an organization are not ready. Or you're going to pilot it. You're going to say, interesting, I'd like to learn more. Maybe we'll take one community or take a few homes or we'll do something and we'll actually start to pilot that so we can get some experience and learn more about it. Or you say, we're ready and we're going to go implement. But you have to select one of those. You have to consciously decide where each of these technologies is going to be. You know, good example would be heat pump water heaters. Wow, they can save, you know, $500 a year. Really interesting. Are you using them today or not? Are you going to ignore them? Are you going to monitor them? Are you going to pilot them? Or are you just going to say, you know what, we need to switch and we need to start using heat pump water heaters? That's a very good, you know, example of you've got to decide what you're going to do with this technology. That's all we have for you tonight. So we have done our job. I'm Tim Costello with Melissa Morman. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, and have a great conference.